Hi everybody, my name is Loveline Bassi. Welcome to the African Businesswoman podcast. Now this podcast is all about uplifting the African businesswoman, empowering her with information, sharing our stories so that we can be informed about what is happening. Those things that we think it's only happening to us, you'll be surprised that it's happening to millions of women out there. But we also want to make sure that from those stories, we learn from them and we become better business people and better women overall. All right. So today I am going to be focusing on getting started on business. So this is a very, very important thing for me because I am a businesswoman and I am African. So as an African businesswoman, it is very important for me that other African businesswomen know how to get started in business. One of the things that I find, amongst many things that I find, and you'll find me saying this a lot, one of the things that I find, but amongst the things that I find about African businesswomen is that we just happen to start business, like literally, we just start a business. For example, a friend brings gold and we decide, okay, so this friend is bringing gold, they're selling it, they're making money. So now we also want to sell gold. This friend hooks us up, we'll buy gold, we'll sell it, we'll make a profit, and now we are in business. Or we decide, we want to start selling hairpiece, or we want to start selling oranges or peanuts because there's necessity for it. And we figure out what is the first thing that we can sell. Maybe it's even recharge card, airtime. We are looking for the fastest thing we can sell, we can move, so we can make some money, and then we are in business. Now, we got started in business without even thinking about what are the other parts of business that come with getting started in business. Now, one of the mistakes that we make when we get started in business is the same account where we buy our groceries from, where we buy our bread, milk, where we pay our children's school fees from, where we pay our own school fees from, where we do all our household expenses. That is the same place we will take the money that we're going to use to buy stock or whatever it is to sell. And that is the same account where that money is that we give people to pay in for the things they have bought from us. So for example, we have one bank account. This morning we bought bread from it. Today we paid for shoes from it. Then we bought gold earrings from somebody in the morning. We paid the person from that account. We found someone to buy those gold earrings from us in the evening. We gave them that same banking details. They paid the money in. What we have just done is we have mixed our entire household money with our business money. If someone was to say to us, how much did we make today? Do you know you have to sit down and calculate? Because what about the bank charges for the transfer you did? Were there bank charges? You have to calculate. Everything is mixed up. You have to separate. You can't just enter your account and say, well, this is how much I made. This is how much I have. This is how much went out. All of that. Maybe for a day you can do that. But imagine days and weeks and months and a whole year. You will not be able to tell them apart unless you're keeping this journal, whether it's handwritten, a book where you're writing it, or whether you're keeping it on your phone. But if you have a separate account for your business, when you get a bank statement at the end of the month, in fact, this is something that most bank statements have in most countries. When they send you the bank statement, they will have an opening balance. So they will tell you how much this account started with at the beginning of the month, or whichever day, is the first of the day for your statement. They will tell you how much it started with. At the end of the statement, it will tell you what the total amount that came into that account was, what is the total that went out of the account, what is the balance as of today, and some statements even tell you whether there's a plus or minus, whether you spent more than you received, or whether you received more than you spent. Now, if you're mixing everything into one account, how will you know what the difference is? How will you even know whether you're profitable or not? Because you're spending your capital because the money is in the account. So, first tip of the day, if you're doing a business, whether you've started or you're just starting, if you're using the same account for your household expenses and for your business, I want you to stop that today, right now. I want you to make an appointment or make some time to go to the bank, any bank of your choice, whichever bank you feel most comfortable with, and open a business account. And that brings me to the next thing I'm going to talk about. You're probably going to be wondering, she's saying open a business account, but I haven't even registered a business and I don't even want to register a business. So why should I open a business account? Now, let me tell you something that you may or may not know. There is something called a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor is also famously referred to in Africa as a one-woman or a one-man business. Yes, that is what we refer to it as, because we say it's only one person, they don't have employees. We make all these assumptions, they don't have employees, they're not formal and what. So because of that, it's a one-woman, one-man business. Never mind that there are PTYs that are registered that there's only one person in the business also. But for the purpose of today's podcast, we're going to talk about just the ones that are sole proprietors, that is, let's call them one woman, one man business for argument's sake. Now, as a sole proprietor, you don't have to register with the government, depending on your country. Some countries require you to register, but by and large, nobody requires you to register a sole proprietorship, because you're doing the business as and when and whatever, it's not a biggie. And most times, most governments will say, as long as you are making lower than a certain amount of money, you don't need to register. You can be a sole proprietor. But one of the things that most banks will recognize in most countries is opening a business account for a sole proprietor. So in South Africa, as a sole proprietor, you can actually open a business account depending on the bank, because they understand that you are not required to register for a certain amount of money that you make as a sole proprietor. So they will allow you open a business account with personal documents. So just find out. So that way, if you don't need to register or formalize a business, you can just say you're a sole proprietor, have a business account and your personal account. Now, let's say for argument's sake, the country you are in says that as a sole proprietor, you cannot have a business account. Guess what? Open a second personal account. Okay. The aim of what I'm saying to you, the purpose of everything I'm saying right now, is that you need to have two separate accounts. One for household and all your expenditure and personal expenses, even your handbag, your shoes, all of that. The other one for your business expenses, where you buy stock and whatever from. Someone can say, well, the handbag I bought it for business purposes. Well, you can buy that from the business account, but make sure that it's for business purposes, and make sure that you can claim it as such and it's being used for that. Because if you're into the image like PR and stuff, I find that most of the things that you buy, like for wearing, is really to promote your business. So one can argue that is for business purposes. Now, when you have those two separate accounts, here's what it does. If you have a controlling husband, for example, who wants to get into your money at all times, who tells you cannot have money, but then when you have money wants to take it away, or who always has, and true story, I'm going to tell you a part of a true story now. This particular lady has her own money that she gets, every now and again from business she does every now and again. Her husband has his own money. He gets salary. He's a salaried person. He doesn't want her to get into his account. They have a joint family account. Listen, when we get married, we do this thing where we open a joint account, which we use or don't use. But they have a joint account, which he almost never uses, but he occasionally puts money in there. Now he says, oh, this is a family project he wants them to do. Okay, it's his idea for the family project. For him, it's irrelevant whether she likes it or not, but he's the head of the family, so he said family project, so it's family project. Now he says to her, that money in your account, I'm going to take it. By the way, he has access to her account. So this guy goes in and takes all the money in the account towards the family project. And he tells her he put XYZ in the joint account for the family project. But as he's putting it, he takes out all the money again, uses it for the family project. Now the woman is left with zero balance, like nothing. She has no more money anyway. But guess what? This guy still has money somewhere else. So now for the next few months, she's busy asking him for money for even something as small as pad. Her personal need, she's asking him for money. Why? Because he had a backup plan. Now, women, I want you to listen to me. When a man tells you family project or says he wants you to contribute towards something, that amount is telling you that both of you should contribute. He has a backup somewhere. Don't get overexcited and give him all your money and say, ooh, yes, family project, I'm putting all my money inside. Guess what? He is not putting all his money inside. You will be left having to ask him for money to do everything else and your personal needs because you went and put all your money inside. Okay, so be smart about it. I'm not telling you don't put money into the family project or whatever, but I'm saying do it smart and leave some money for yourself. Now, the other thing I'm saying to you is don't take your money from your business to put into family projects. I'm telling you this because I have done it before. And it is crazy. It does not pay you because then you struggle with the business because you have used your capital for family project. Now, where are you going to get the capital to restart the business? Where are you going to get the money to keep running the business? So be smart about it. Okay, don't take money from your business for family, whatever. At the end of the month, or whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, pay yourself from your business if there is money to pay yourself. Okay, if there's no money to pay yourself, don't pay yourself. Now, I know that people say, oh, pay yourself no matter what. Yes, try to pay yourself no matter what. Even if it's $1, $1, R1, whatever, pay yourself. But don't take business money and start using it for family projects. It's crazy. All right. So we've gotten that out of the way. We've spoken about sole proprietorship and opening 2 separate accounts, one for personal, one for business. The business one can be a business account or it can be a second personal account. Now, the other type of business we have is what we call a PTY. So they call it a proprietary limited. And what it does is the government recognizes this as an individual. So the law calls it a juristic person. But the government recognizes this business as a person separate from you. So unlike the sole proprietorship where it's like it's you, it's not even it's you, everything is you. Whether you have 2 different bank accounts, everything is you, it's all tied. If you die tomorrow, everything is one, it's all your estate and stuff. But with sole proprietor, you can't just bring on a business partner. You can have partnership, but you cannot just bring in a new director tomorrow because it's a sole proprietorship. Now, for the purpose of the PTY Limited, it can have 1 director, it can have 2 shareholders, it can have multiple people. It's not just one person. But the most important thing is that it is separate from you. If anything happens to you tomorrow, that business needs to be wound up separately from your estate. Your husband cannot just go there and say, it's my wife's business and take it. No, that's not how it works. Even when you are alive, your husband cannot just go into the business and take it. You know why? Because that business is not you. You are not that business. Yes, you represent the business. You are the director and shareholder, but that business is a person on its own. Okay, so get that, understand that business is different. That business files taxes separately. All right. Now, taxes is a different thing. You can talk to a tax lawyer about it, whatever, just deal with that separately. Now, when it comes to registering a company, one of the things that I find is just like women would put a property they buy in their children's name, or they would make the child a beneficiary of shares and all of that. I want you to understand that when it comes to a company, don't put your child as a shareholder. Your child that is under 16 or under 18, depending on the age that they're allowed to sign legal documents in your country. Don't put the child as a shareholder because here is the thing. If you're married to your husband and that husband is the father of that child, you're both guardians of that child. Even if you're not married and there's an agreement, whether it's divorce papers or whatever, and it says that you are both legal guardians of the child, then it means that when that child needs to sign, when it's required for that child to sign as a shareholder, because that child is not old enough to sign, it needs both parents to sign on his behalf. unless there's a court document that says one or the other sign, or you have an understanding. But if you go to the bank or you need something formal done and they say both parents have to sign on behalf of the child, what are you then going to do? Now, if your husband is trying to hold you hostage to something, he's not going to sign that document. If your husband has absconded and run away and it's just you and the children, and you didn't go and get a court order to make you the sole parent, which we'll discuss on another day, guess what? That business is now subject to that man's control, because that child is a shareholder and the child is not an adult. So rather have a will where you will say this child is the beneficiary of this business. When you die, the business must go to the child, but this is the person who would administer that estate. This is the person, and the person can be your husband, but what our advice is let it be your husband and somebody else, maybe a sibling or a best friend, so that there's a counterbalance, so to say. And it also protects your children that if your husband remarries, this other person can counter what is in the best interest of your child. Okay, not only your husband who is now married to a new lady controlling everything, and maybe he does it to the benefit of the children, maybe not. You don't know. You are not there anymore. So when it comes to making children shareholders, I do not subscribe to it. I do not advise it. I would advise that you have a will rather, and your children should be the beneficiary of that. That way you can do your business in peace and they don't have to sign documents. You don't have to go and tell your husband to come and sign on behalf of the child. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. When I got married, me and my husband we registered a company together. Now, we didn't really have the same business interest per se, because he's got his own business interest that he does. I have mine. But we did one together because, it was the cool thing to do when you get married. But what we then did was he then had a separate business account under the company name. I had a separate business account under the company name. Never mind that I did the taxes, I did all the admin for the company, the website, everything, managing it, all of that stuff. But because we had two separate business accounts, we could sort of keep this idea that there were two different businesses, but it wasn't really. So fast forward years later, I realized that, our business interests drifted more and more apart, but then I still needed him to sign on some documents for me, some legal documents, whether from the bank or whoever. So I requested that that we have two separate companies. So we did have another company. So he took that one and then I took this other one. That way we're able to separate it. And now I can sign things without him, without needing him to sign it for me. And then he can do whatever he wants with the other company without needing me to co-sign. You see, so there's that separation where if you don't have the same business interest, you can just separate it. So from the beginning, let me tell you something. From the beginning, don't use because of love and open the same company. Okay, use your sense, use your logic. Okay, don't do what I did. Use your sense, use common sense. And if you already have a business together with your husband, if it's not working the way you want it to work, go register another business in your own name. Don't just stay there and be suffering and just sit down there. There are other people, true story, where husband and wife owns a business. The man thinks the business is his personal thing, and he is allowed himself to take money from the business whenever he wants without explaining. But when the wife does the same thing, she must explain herself. She's not allowed to take money from the business. She doesn't get a salary from the business. That is just crazy. So if you're going to have a business with your husband, from day one, you must have a contract in place. Even if you just write it on a piece of paper in the bedroom to say, this is your duty, this is my duty, this is how much I'm getting paid a month, this is how much you are getting paid a month, and Make it written from day one, because let me tell you, when the money starts rolling in, everybody's going to forget that, this is what we promised each other. And what I've seen with most African men is then they try to take over and say, I'm the head of the family, so I'm going to decide how this money gets shared. You don't want to find yourself in that position. So if you're already in that position, what you have done is already gone. Don't try to kill it and try to go crazy there. Just register your own business, start it, you can get some contracts for yourself. It's going to be difficult, but have your own thing separate from your husband. And some people will tell you, no, but if you have something separate from your husband, it means that now you're preparing for failure and whatever. No, you are not. You just have to have an understanding, especially if you're in two different industries. Somebody in property and somebody in law, they should have two separate accounts. Like if the husband is a lawyer, the wife is into properties, the husband is required to have a personal liability account and all of that. Even though the wife is also required to have a personal liability account, she must have her own business separate from her husband. That is just what the two corporate bodies require, the legal bodies require for them. So that's on a bigger scale. But listen, no matter what business you are doing, have your own business, okay? Have your own registered business. If you're a sole proprietor, have it as your own. Remember, your business is your own. It is not you, your husband, and everybody else. It is your own. Treat it as your own. Treat it separate from the family business. Have the details. Don't share. Listen, if you want to write your business details somewhere and the password and stuff somewhere, in case something happens to you, they can access it. That's different. But have it different. Okay, let your husband not just have access to it anytime he wants, because he's just going to go and withdraw the money. Most African men I've heard about do that. Okay, because they don't have that respect for the African businesswoman, and they don't respect her business that much. So another thing I want to mention is a will. I mentioned it earlier. Make sure you have a will. Now you don't need to give your husband your will. You can leave it with the lawyer or whatever, the legal person that helped you draft it. One thing you should also be aware of is that most banks in most countries, when I'm not saying most countries, let me just say South Africa, for example, the banks would offer you a free will. They can help you draft your will and they can keep it for you. So you can always take up that service as well, so that you have a will to what will happen to your business when you die or when you pass or whatever, and who it will go to and who is going to administer this thing, so that your children are protected. Because ultimately, the main people that we African businesswomen are trying to protect are our children, because our husbands are adults and they can sort out themselves if anything happens to us, but our children are the ones that we always want to protect. So whatever you do, do it for your children. Everything that I've said to you today is for yourself and your children. It is about protecting yourself and your children, protecting your business and your children, protecting your money and your children. Okay, so it's for both you and your children. Now, I've told you a lot today. There's a lot that I've covered today, but it's all been about getting started with a business and the best practices that you should consider doing. I'm not telling you for researching to do X, Y, Z, but it's your decision to make. I am giving you information. Do whatever you will with the information. If you have questions for me that you want me to answer, advice you want me to give, you can comment in the chat box on our social media pages, and comment in the comment section, and I will answer you. You can also private message me with questions and stuff, and I will also be happy to help you. Obviously, I will not give you legal advice. I'm a lawyer, but I will not give you legal advice in Facebook Messenger or Instagram private message. I'm not going to do that. But I can help you with tips on what you can do for different situations. Please share our podcast. There are millions of African women out there, African business women out there that really need to hear everything that I've said today. So please share it so they can listen to it. Comment on it so we know that you like what we've said, so that we know that let us know what you want to know more information about, and we'll try to help you with that information. All right. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time listening to this podcast. I have tried to put in as much information as I can, so that with this little topic to do with justice. In other podcasts, we'll talk about different areas of businesses, but one of the things I'm going to be bringing to you are people's life stories. So stay tuned for those. The people's stories, I'm going to call them her story. Those stories are so amazing. You want to hear them. You don't want to miss them. They will be shared on all our platforms as well. Some of them will be anonymous, so I will tell the stories on their behalf, and others, they will tell the stories in their voice. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I am looking forward to it because the stories I'm hearing, they're blowing me away. But one of the things I can tell you is that the African woman is resilient. She's building a future for herself. She's building a future for her children, and nobody can stop her. She cannot be stopped. Cheers, go out there and do amazing stuff, you African businesswoman. This has been Lovely Mbasi. Lots and lots of love from me. I am cheering you on because I know you can do it. Don't be discouraged. No matter what happens, put one foot in front of the other and keep shining. Thank you very much, and God bless.